So I've chosen a BPM of 161, and I think what I'm going to do is make a beat with the drums first, or I'm going to try to. Excuse me. Still got some allergies going on, so forgive the coughing and sniffling. All right, let's see. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a beat going on, a little bit of a drum pattern going on. Okay, I'm really enjoying this processed lighter sound that I have. So let's go ahead and grab that. So that's what that sounds like. Um, Although because my 808s are hitting right before the clap, I'm gonna have to put it back a little bit. So let's put it back. I guess I could do that, couldn't I? Oh, but that's after. I want it to be like right before the clap. Let's try right after. Kind of like that, or we could do right there. I like that better. So let's copy and paste that. Oh, by the way, what I'm doing to copy and paste is if you hold right click, you can drag this little, I don't know what this area is called, but this like highlighted section. And you can drag it. And what I do is since I only want this to happen every so often, I highlight this section of it. And then if I want this section to copy, you hold control and press B as in box, and it like mirrors it over from the point, like the end point at which, well, you stopped it. So if I do it again, it's going to mirror it from this 5. You can imagine like flipping a mirror over and it puts it in the same place. I guess it's not really mirroring, is it? It just puts it in the same place. Whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, Control B just flips it over basically. Whatever. Hopefully you don't hear my neighbors. I've got this change sound. I literally just had a bunch of change in my hand and I poured it from one hand to the other and recorded it. Problem is, I recorded it with these headphones that I'm wearing right now, which have like no super high end and no super low end in them. And so it sounds kind of plasticky instead of like metal, but that's okay. We're still going to try and use it. Let's start this over. And I don't want it to go quite as long. I kind of like this space here. I think I'm going to leave that. Let's try putting it over here. The change might be a bit much. Actually, I kind of like that. So again, to not mirror it, but like flip it and copy what you already have to the second half. You just highlight with hold, drag, and click and drag, right click, okay, and put it where you want it. And so you'll put it halfway point, and then you'll hit and hold Control B, and it will flip it over there like that. I've already done it, so it's going to mess it up this time, but just making sure I didn't have anything extra up there. Okay, so now that I have my drums, I'm gonna try adding some sounds. So I'm gonna use mostly stock plugins. So let's try. I've been playing around with Sakura. I don't actually know all that much about it. I've just been recently using it kind of for the first time. So let me see if I can find some good presets in here, because that's mostly what I've been doing with these, or with Sakura in general, is just using presets and kind of messing around with things. Uh, let's try this. And what we'll notice is I put the 808 on E, which is the key that I'm in. I'm in E minor, I believe. Let me double check. Yeah, so I'm in E minor natural, so E minor. And the 808 goes from hitting on E down here to hitting on, what is this? A. So when I'm doing my instrument part, when I'm doing my melodic part, I'm going to make sure that I kind of follow that. So I'm going to kind of stay on E until I get to about this 3 here. And then I'm going to move down to an A. And then I'm going to stay on E, and then I'm going to move down to an A. So I'm just kind of copying my bass note. This doesn't really sound like it ends right. I wanted it to be different, but now that it's different, it doesn't sound like it ends like properly. So I'm gonna try something. Yeah, so what I did was I wanted this to be different than this. So I moved the note around a little bit until I found something that I liked, and I ended up moving it down one. But then it didn't sound like the phrase ended properly, and so I chopped part of the end of the phrase up. So this note, the D note, and then I shifted it down, and then just kind of played around with the parts of the note that I cut up into pieces. So I kind of did this. So I cut the note in half, and then I cut it in half again, and I said, okay, I need this to do something different. So I moved it here, and I know that moving between notes that are next to each other are going to end up sounding like kind of dark or somber or whatever you want to call it. And I just kind of knew that it would sound fairly decent doing this. And I think that just kind of comes from experience in doing this for, enough time. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I want to make this into a chord. And so I took these top notes and I copied them, and now I'm going to shift them down an octave. And the way that I did that was I held Control and pressed down arrow. So if you select like this little, I don't know what this is called, but this little part, and then you hold Alt, you can press up and down arrow to move things on the channel rack. And I like to put my melodies at the top, just because typically I make the melody first, and so that's what my brain is used to seeing. Obviously, this is a personal preference thing. You don't have to do that. I am, however, going to add a different instrument because I feel like we need something else. I'm gonna keep Sakura. I like the kind of vibe we've got going on. I'm gonna try and find a stringed instrument now, because I did say strings, yeah. So let's see if we can find something in here. I want like a long string, like almost like a cello. Yeah. So again, I'm holding Alt and pressing up and down on the arrow keys. Na, 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 na. Okay, I think I'm gonna add a hi-hat now. By the way, if you're brand new and you ever notice that you put one note down and then all of a sudden it starts wigging out and playing that thing 1,000 times a second, kind of like, oh no, it doesn't want to do it. Oh, it's because I wasn't on the, yeah. So you see how it's like playing it super fast over and over again? The reason is because it says use loop points. That is not checked off. Okay, that's something I didn't realize at first when I first started out. And sometimes I would put a note in, and all of a sudden it would just play a bajillion times in a row, and I didn't know why. It's because this little box isn't checked. So what you do is you click on the box for whatever sound it is, and then you come over here to use loop points and make sure it's checked off. Okay. I like just having a regular two-step pattern for this. I like the sound of it. However, what I'm going to do is take some of the velocities of some of these down. Let me see. Okay, all right. So I'm going to do the third one here. And then I'm just going to kind of play by ear and lower something else. I like the sound of that, okay? And then I want this to be, like this second half to be a little bit different. And so So again, click and hold, right click and hold, and you can drag this little bit, drag it to here, and then Control B as in box. And then B as in box, Control B as in box. I mean, there's more we could do with this. We could go through and we could click on this, and we could hit patterns, we could hit split. We could start like arranging it. So Control B. And the way I like to typically arrange it is put it in sets of 4 and take some of the melodic parts out for some pieces, and make one of the parts quiet. So take almost all of them out, maybe most of them. And at the end, I like to use halftime. However, for the purposes of this video, we're just going to kind of end it here. So let me